We need to check ourselves, we said. And the next format will be about the Green New Deal. And we will have the opportunity to see for ourselves how to decarbonize our own industry. Because Europe is calling on creatives to shape a new vision for a fair and a green continent. So we will have also in our guests people able to tell us, policy officers of Creative Europe, able to tell us also what is in this, what is the responsibility of the cultural sector. We have to ask ourselves, what can institutions, companies, initiatives do to drive change? And in the next panel, I will let my wonderful colleague, Kathleen Schröter, take over, and she will present you her guests. And Kathleen is a former marketing and business development at the applied science at the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft in Berlin, before she joined G2C, Journey to Creation, in 2020, and Kathleen is going to lead this conversation. Kathleen, I hand over to you.
Hello, thank you so much, AC, for this nice introduction. Yeah, we are talking with people who are making the difference or want to make the difference in a European scale, but also much more going into more than this internationally. We have the colleagues here from BAFTA, from the European Commission, and from MIA. They are joined with me here. Oh, I already see them. Hi, ladies. I'd like to start to introduce first, Lauriane Bertrand. She is from the European Commission. She's a policy officer for sustainability and greening at the Creative Europe Media. Hello, Lauriane. Then next, you see her next to me. That would be Rosa Canela-Mas. She's the Industry Sustainability Manager for Albert. She will tell us more about Albert, and that's at BAFTA. And then we have Lucia Milazzotto here. She's from MIA, from the International Audiovisual Market in Rome. So we have Lauriane is in Brussels. We have Rosa in Barcelona, and we have Lucia in Rome. And as we are talking about what can be done from a company level, from an institutional level, but also we talk about best practices. I would start with the programs, and then we go into best practice. That's why I would like to start with Lauriane. Lauriane, please give us an introduction onto your work. The stage is yours.
Good afternoon. I am Lauriane. Thank you very much for having me. I am representing the European Commission. As you said, I am a policy officer in the media unit in charge of the media program that you know. The program has been supporting the audiovisual industry and audiovisual works from development to distribution over the last 30 years. First of all, allow me to congratulate the CPH team on the title of this panel, called the Green New Deal, which nicely echoes the name of our own policy, called the European Green Deal. It is our roadmap to make our economy sustainable and to become the first climate-neutral bloc in the world by 2050. As you know, this is a strong ambition. In the past, of course, greening has always been part of our concern, but we were tackling more in an indirect way, like calls for tenders, etc. Now, as from 2021, it has become a cross-cutting priority of the media program. This means that we will meet the overall target of 30% of the union budget expenditure supporting climate objectives. Why the audiovisual industry? Why does it make sense for us media program to join forces? First of all, we do acknowledge the special role played by the European industry in shaping up minds and shaping up our societies. But we also see that there are some specific challenges for the audiovisual industry, like emission on continuous rise, notably by increase in media consumption, and also, we see that many good initiatives are taking place, measures are implemented, but without a coherent strategy and common measurement tools. I'm sure we will discuss it with our colleague who will speak about the Albert calculator. We see greening as a business opportunity for the audiovisual industry. First of all, because we see the savings in terms of consumption and cost, because we see the investment in clean technologies that can underpin the growth of the industry, and we trust the positive spillover effect that have the power to fuel innovation and new business models. Commissioner Breton, in charge of the media industry, has developed his vision for an industrial policy for the sectors, and greening is fully part of it. This document is called the Media and Audiovisual Action Plan. Then we see that the Creative Europe Media Programme, that will be validated by the member states in the coming days, will be our way to support financially the industry in order to accompany this change. I'll be quick, and now I just want to tell you about our 3-pillar strategy. As I said, now this is we have a strong ambition, and we want to take actions. To do so, we see 3 different steps. First of all, pillar number 1, exchanging and learning together. We intend to launch a stakeholder dialogue. It will be called the Greening Coalition. All of you are welcome to take part in it. The first meeting will take place in June. My email address is on the website, and I am very happy to receive any suggestion of yours. Secondly, always part of exchanging and learning, we intend to train professionals. This can also be done and supported by media via our talent skills. It can also be done via the innovation tool scheme. Last, of course, we will raise awareness in any possible event or existing campaign. That was for the first pillar. Second pillar, federating approaches. We see that we share common goals. We would all like to reduce our CO2 impact. We see many companies, many players taking public pledges, but then it is very hard to compare. First of all, because we need reliable data. Second of all, because we have to be able to compare this data through either a common methodology for calculation of CO2, or at least a meta tool that would allow this comparison. Therefore, we intend to develop a best practice guide, and we also intend to develop common methodology for the calculation of CO2. This leads me to the 3rd pillar. It is, of course, incentivizing change. We hope that the media program will help us to do so via new award criteria that we could introduce, via new standard that we could set together. But please allow me to say straight from the beginning that we know that the COVID crisis has hit the industry, cultural industry, very severely, and we do not intend to add an additional layer of obligation. We intend to build it all together. Again, I am here to listen to you and to express our determination to join forces in order to make the European audiovisual sector sustainable. I am looking forward to discussing with you what the player means when they announce carbon neutrality, what is the scope of the effort, what is the scope of the activities that is measured. And also, I am very interested in how this neutrality can be reached. Floor is yours.
Merci, Lauriane. As you already said it, you already said Albert. So Albert is the project that Rosa will tell us more about. And I tell you, it's all about calculation. So Rosa, in Barcelona, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to share my screen, even if I know I've not done the tests. So let's try it and see if it works. Yes, I think I can do that. Because I've got a little presentation, just really quick. Guessing if you cannot see it, just complain, yeah, because I'm just gonna go for it. So hello everybody, my name is Rosa. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So my name is Rosé Canela, and I'm the international manager at Albert. I know it says industry sustainability manager because I've been changing kind of my role recently. So what is Albert? Yeah, I've been in Albert for the past 5 years. So Albert has changed a lot in the past 5 years, has grown a lot. Yeah. So Albert, as it says on the screen, so it's leading the environmental sustainability in the screen industries, both in the UK and internationally. So we started in the UK. We are based in the UK, but then we saw all the increasing interest internationally. So we started sharing our methodologies, our calculators, and our tools and assets, that we call it. So as I mentioned, we operate in the UK. However, we are helping all the international community to get on board. So the project is a completely altruist project. So everything is funded by the main players in the industry. So we always say we are a project from the industry to the industry. And thanks to all these funds that the industry is giving us, so we can create materials, trainings, tools that can help the whole of the industry. Yeah, we have two goals. That one is to inspire, and it's quite similar to what we've been hearing this afternoon. So one is to inspire. So we want to empower the industry to create content that supports a vision for a sustainable future. So let's talk about sustainability on a screen, but let's not talk about sustainability on a screen only on a documentary about the environment. No, let's introduce it on all the content that we make, like the content what you're going to see people, the content where you're going to catch people that they're not going to watch the documentary about sustainability. Yeah. And our other goal is to restore. So we want to enable the industry to make a positive contribution, however, while actively eliminating the waste and carbon emissions from the production. So eliminate our impact and obviously start restoring and making a positive contribution. So just for you to understand the scale of the project, I put here our consortium members from the UK. So these are the companies that they're funding the whole project, so that they're funding the famous carbon calculator and all the assets that we have that then we can provide for free to a smaller production company. So we can't forget that we need everybody to get involved into this change. We can't lead it just with the big companies, or we can't lead it only with the small companies. We are all on this together. So we started making some international partnerships as well. So now we're operating, so we started in the UK. However, now we're operating in different countries thanks to all those partners on the screen. So now we have a deal with ITV, the whole of their own production companies around the world, with Fremantle exactly the same. They were the first ones to do it as a global group. Then we have a partnership with Real Green, which is an organization in Canada as well, with NTR and the rest of public broadcasters in the Netherlands, with an organization called Screen Greening in Ireland that is made out of different stakeholders as well, like RTE, which is the public broadcaster, or TG4, or Virgin Media. A really small organization, but really helpful, that is called Greener Screen in Dubai, and with the public broadcaster in Norway and NRK. So thanks to all those partners that I'm putting on screen, that's where we can create all the assets. Yeah, so we have the two goals: to eliminate our impact and to inspire in terms of content editorially. So what we're doing as a project for the last 10 years, because we've been in existence for the last 10 years. So thanks to all the data that we collect through our calculator, through our training, through all the conversations that we have with partners and other stakeholders. So what we do is we create solutions for them. So we have created a carbon calculator, we have created different projects, which I'm not going to go through all of them because I know it's people is interested on the discussion, but just for you to understand, we have our Albert toolkit, which I'll mention it because I'm sure it's going to come up in the discussion, where we build a carbon calculator. Actually, I built myself the carbon calculator during the lockdown, so it was a really interesting lockdown experience. So now this toolkit is international, so we hold carbon factors for 308 countries and states on electricity generation. We have a carbon action plan, which is a certification process in order to get a certificate on sustainable production or carbon neutral, obviously company reports, tips and tricks, and translation. So the tool, it's being translated to 10 languages for now. And with all these funds and all this support that we get from the industry, we've been creating different things that we think that it's needed in order to get to net zero. So we have free training as well for the industry weekly now that is online. We have free training in terms of sustainable production, but also for editorial teams, commissioners, writers, etc. We have different campaigns. So the last one was a Green Rider campaign, which we help talent to request sustainability measures on set as well, are kind of using their power as well. We have created a project where we help all production companies, studios, post-productions, houses to get renewable energy together within the UK. So again, facilitating their route to net zero. Screen New Deal, which probably I think is going to be mentioned today. So we looked more into the film industry, so we tend to work more with the TV industry, but we did a big study into the film industry. Supplies to Zero as well, working with our sports community on the consortium as well to understand like how can we address the scope 3 emissions of the sports productions, and then a creative offset scheme where we offset all together as an industry. So again, it brings the price down to us and it facilitates the access to everybody in the industry. And that's it from me. I just think I'm just really looking forward to jump into discussion and I'll get any questions.
When you stop sharing your screen, then we can see you again.
Yes, I did stop sharing. Yeah, I did.
Maybe it's just a bit of delay. But I'm pretty sure like we can already continue. And although I don't see you, but I'm pretty sure we can all hear you. Lucia, you should be there. Let's continue. Hi. Because now we have perfect. Now it's coming here. So your case, and this is I would say a best case scenario or a benchmark. Let's discuss about that. But we will talk with Lucia now about sustainability certification at the MIA. So she's responsible there since the beginning, since 2015, and she will tell us how they put into action what sustainability means for a market. Lucia, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting us and me, us meaning Mia and myself, telling an experience which is actually in progress for us, and it has been quite an interesting journey starting 2 years ago when we thought we needed to understand what really means to be green or to be sustainable. And when you start, you need definitions, and I have a presentation that I may ask you to share if possible. And okay, this is Mia, exactly, a sustainable experience. And if we can go on the next slide, we, as I said, we started with a definition, which was trying to have a starting point to define what a green event means, or is it sufficient, I don't know, to throw away all the plastic glasses we have, or okay, have as a gadget a bottle and saying, okay, use the bottle, or is it a more profound change and a more profound transformational journey for, of course, an event, which means quite a large community. It means the people working for the event. It means the people attending the event, and therefore is a legacy. And you start considering that this transformational journey makes sense. Otherwise, maybe your main mission is something else, like doing business and supporting other people doing the business for the best and improving their international relations. And so starting from that definition, we wanted to understand what does it mean to minimize the potential negative impacts, and on the other side leave a beneficial legacy for the host community, and which is large because it's the community of our film industry attending the event, but it's as well the city, is the neighborhood, is the region, is all our contractors. So it's quite a large community. And so we searched a way, and we involved a partner. So we can go on this last slide. Thank you. And in order to get to a result, okay, the last year result was what you're reading. So we had quite a number of participants, even though it was in the in the peak of the pandemic. We had like 2 windows between 2 weeks windows between 2 lockdowns. We had a hybrid market. We improved. I mean, we implemented our platform, and anyway, we had quite a large participation and very enthusiastic and very courageous. Several participants flew into Rome, and we were all together in of course having COVID tests but we had a very safe market. Still, we had a very safe market and also a very sustainable one, and we are considering sustainability from 3 points of view, which is social, economical, and of course environmental. So, and that's why we think and we believe it's important to consider the beneficial aspects of what happens around your community within the film industry and with all the others that somehow get in contact with us. And so if we can move on to the next slide, we may see together that we are, of course, a completely plastic-free event, and we can go on to the next. And then that we have all the basics, let's say, I would say, for a certification, which we actually adapted it, to a market event, because it's a wider certification, which is not properly designed for an event. But we took the principles, and then, of course, a consultant with our partners, which are the Trentino Film Commission, which were one of the film commissions in Europe, which has been first involved in the green film initiatives. And we started putting all the various steps together and giving us 3 years time in order to improve our results over the time. So, okay, we are totally plastic free event. We, for example, we don't have badges anymore. We don't have, we just go with a QR code. We, of course, there are no plastic bottles, there are no plastic glasses, there's no plastic in MIA. And whatever plastic we have is either recycled, or we are gonna recycling it, or we reuse a great part of our structures that we use, like booths, etc. We reuse them year after year. And what we can't reuse, which is printed, it's recyclable. And so we can move on to the next. Anyway, the data can be read. I don't have to read them in detail. And if we have to be honest, I don't remember the next slide. Okay. And of course, then we try to inspire our community. And therefore, apart from the fact that we, of course, offset, during the MIA, we have always a discussion and a panel. We share our rules with all the participants, and in particular with all our contractors. So we choose the contractors on the basis of their values and their capacity to let's say meet our sustainability criteria, being social or economical or ecological, which means also to involve communities and associations in terms of work, which means having 0 kilometers products for the catering, which means involving the convicted associations that can be reintroduced in the work, in their jobs. And of course, we have all our rules, both in on-site and online. Can we move on to the next, please? Okay, so finally, we got our ISO 21121 certification, and so we of course, as I said, it has been a journey. So now all our structure and modular joints are reusable, and actually we are going to reuse them. Whatever is not reusable is possible to be recycled. So we choose several materials that can be recycled, and of course we offset most of quite a lot of the market. Can we move on to the next, please? Okay, so as I said, we started in 2019, and we started with the 2019 Commission, and of course we are in line with the principles of our certification. If we can move on, I can share our pillars, the pillars of our vision, and then conclude. Okay, what we wanted is, of course, is to be transparent, which means that everyone involved in MIA in all various ways, being contractors, guests, participants, and whomever is in contact with us for any reason is welcome to understand what our policies are, and of course we tend to share all the possible information about our policies. Of course, one of the pillars of our vision is inclusiveness, which means that we want to meet fully and significantly the needs of our stakeholders. But for stakeholders, we mean quite a large concept, which is not only the proper what everybody, considers a stakeholder, but for us the stakeholders are the institutions who fund us, the sponsors who are involved in the project, the organization of the project, the team, all our contractors, or our participants, or our volunteers. So for us, stakeholders is quite a large meaning in the terms of the certification. And if we can go to the next slide, of course, our important value is this accessibility, meaning not only, of course, the accessibility to the event, but in particular, meaning to be a very inclusive, again, market, and to welcome and to facilitate the access to the market, to the startups, the new ventures, the new talents, and how do we do it? Considering our sustainability policies, and therefore we have very sustainable rates. We of course provide food with for any need in terms of religion or medical or ethical or reason. And of course, MIA is very accessible both online and on site in terms of any disabled. We give support to the disabled. Our other and last value I will share with you is legacy. Of course, we try to not only identify the principles and guidelines and have our manifesto of sustainability, but also to share it, to discuss it, and to involve as many as our stakeholders in the meaning I said before it is. And last, of course, we are inspired by the principles of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda. And so, of course, we as for the zero hunger, we donated like 600 kilos of food to the second market in order not to have waste and support the community around us, in particular in these years, in these past 2 years, which has been really complicated for most of Italy. Of course, we tend to provide food which is healthy, an environment which is healthy. Also for the COVID, we had several certifications going on apart from the DPIs in order to keep our guests safe and healthy as much as we can, also from the relaxing point of view, from the mental point of view. And of course, we want for our team and for all we are related to to have a growth in their job, and also a very and be satisfied by the job also economically, in order to have a growth within the market. Of course, we have a program, you know, for the innovation, and then you may read the rest in the slide. I don't want to keep you too long. And as far as for the last, let's say the last slide, the other two are very nice, but not content-wise. If we can go on to the next slide, or next two slides. Okay, this is, I just said, okay, this one. And not the previous, it's okay, doesn't matter. And as for our ethical, social, and economic objectives, as I said, is inclusion, accessibility. We do prefer, or actually we do choose suppliers who share our ethical, social principles. We enhance the local content, the local products. So as I said, we do have only 0 kilometers products. And of course, we want everyone to be safe and healthy, and this means being in a very COVID, I mean, being in a total COVID-free environment as well, in a very motivating environment, because of course healthy is quite a wider word. And so thank you very much. I think it took longer than I was expected to be. Sorry for that. And thank you.
But thank you for giving us all the details already, and we can understand the broader scope that you had when it comes to sustainability, that it's not just about green, but as you said, in the social, economic, and environmental scale. Let me address the first question to Rosa and to Lauriane, because you both mentioned calculation. And I know about the calculators around the world. Actually, I believe they are all a bit different. Like, how can a production company actually hand in their project and saying, oh, the calculator says we are carbon neutral? Which calculator? Isn't it a bit comparing pears to apples? Or like, how do you come up with those things? Maybe Rosa, you said maybe you first, because you said you had to do the calculator. You developed it in the lockdown.
Yeah, it was my nightmare, lockdown and summer. So basically, yes, we did have a calculator before. So we just changed who built it, like the company who owns it and who builds it. So now we fully own it. So basically what you need to do is you need to put a carbon factor, so an amount of a kilogram of CO2 into an action, or into an activity that you're making. How do we get these numbers? If anyone is interested to go into super detail on our website, you can find the full methodology so people understand, so we're fully transparent on where we're taking the numbers. But those numbers normally come from the International Agency of Energy, or for example in the UK they come from DEFRA, which is the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. In some countries normally comes from the governments. So it's about translating, using, for example, 1 liter of diesel on a car with the X size engine, that equals X amount of CO2. So all these numbers are normally publicly available, or you have to pay for them. In terms of our tool and our calculator, it's free to use. So any production around the world can just contact us, email at albert@bafta.org, and can use it. So it's free at point of use, thanks to the funders that I was mentioning. And what we measure, so we measure the whole process from pre-production, so pre-production, production, and post-production. So for example, we don't measure distribution, for example, and in terms of what things we measure, so we measure all the electricity attached, electricity or gas, for example, attached to your production, from your production office, from the studio, any generators as well that you use in terms of fuel, so studio locations, or other spaces like construction construction workshop places, for example. We measure all the transport linked to the production as well. We measure the accommodation, the materials used, the waste, and all the energy on post-production. We always say that to measure a carbon footprint from a production, you need to take into account what the production pays for. So whatever is budgeted in your production. And I think I've answered your question.
The distribution is not calculated. Sorry, did you say that the distribution is not calculated? Because when I think of streaming, streaming is a big deal. Like nobody, are you measuring that, or what about that?
We're not
like it's all around the world now. Everybody is streaming and not going to the cinema. Sorry.
Yeah. So we are not. I think there is a slightly delay, but I can see myself well, so that's quite weird. So yeah, we don't measure distribution for now. One thing that, Kathleen, we need to understand as well here, it's which data is available. So for example, 2 years ago, we weren't measuring the impact of using glass, for example, a glass bottle. Yeah, but now we do, because there is data, you know. So I don't create the data. I don't create this carbon factor, this X amount of kilograms of CO2 into the atmosphere. That doesn't come from us. That comes from government, which come from the scientific community. Yeah. So in terms of distribution, you're right. It's a big part of the carbon footprint we're starting to find out. So I'm aware that Netflix and other platforms, they're investing a lot in terms of finding out the impact of distribution. But you need to take into account when we started our calculator 10 years ago, we weren't even talking that much about distribution. It's something we've been thinking about including it, but for now we're sticking it to the production process. Yeah. And obviously we welcome other platforms that measure distribution as well.
Then I would like to address that to Lauriane, because in your second pillar, Film Green measures and calculate. You said data collection in industrial practices. My notes say harmonization of data. The CO2 calculator, is there the distribution part of the calculation?
So first of all, we do not aim at harmonization, because I know that some professional might go mad if we say this. It's rather federating approach. I'd like to say thank you to Rosaire for the very transparent explanation she gave, but I'm sorry, here I think we miss square zero. It's great when some big players in the audiovisual sector take very ambitious public pledges, like Netflix, who committed to become carbon neutral by end of 2022. But sorry, I am very concerned by the fact, first of all, what are they measuring? And Netflix does not take streaming into account, while we all know it amounts for a lot of the CO2 that comes out of their activities. And secondly, also, what does it mean to become carbon neutral? It's great to measure. Measure is here to help us. But I see that main help will come if we reduce our emission. If carbon neutrality comes with compensation or regeneration project, then we'll have another question. Then we'll have to measure those projects. But I'm sorry, the only true way to go carbon neutral is to reduce. And then also, I'd say it's all about definition. I have heard both in what Lucia said. Definition was the first step for a market to become sustainable. Then also in what Rosaire said, you said among the goal, there is the restoration, but what do we put behind these words? I would be eager to listen from you ladies on this.
Has to be done on a different day, because the production team tells me, oh my goodness, we have to go to Q&As, but that's I think that's perfect. Let's talk about that, but also one question that came in from the audience is, Lauriane, when you say does it mean that the film should be about greening, or that the companies and production should be green, or both? I think you answered that already, but just to say yes or no, is it both?
Yeah, no, first of all, it's the audiovisual sector. We have to be all together to make this effort. Then secondly, of course, there is no censorship. We will never, ever interfere with creativity. Creativity comes first, and being sustainable is the way to serve creativity. So, of course, sustainable story deserve a spotlight, but media will never, ever select in line with the contents.
Okay, then maybe we can go back to this to finish here. We can go exactly when you said, let's talk about that, ladies, the distribution. Maybe you can say that again. Netflix is not taking it into account. There are so many other streaming platforms who are not taking it into account.
To make it short, it's great.
Can I reply?
Rosa,
Just to make
please
sure
go ahead.
I was heard. Okay, it's
Sorry,
great to
because we
begin
have a delay.
somewhere.
I think Rosa
Production is
can't
the
hear you.
place to begin with, but let's hope that we can also be more inclusive. I've heard you talking about the suppliers. For example, for Mia, I think that the right approach is when we take the suppliers into account, possibly also the clients. I see that some broadcasters do it this way. I've talked to Sky about it, and they will be carbon neutral in 2030. But it's also a very ambitious pledge. Roser, you wanted to reply?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to reply because I don't know if I've been understood wrong, but I've not said so. Our tool, I'm not here representing any company, but our tool, we have a database of 10,000 productions measuring their carbon footprint for the last years. So thanks to those, we have all this data. In terms of measuring distribution, what I mentioned is we don't have it included on our tool. We can't have everything. We are a team of 12 people only. 5 years ago, we were 2. And what I mentioned is that I know Netflix has been looking into that because for themselves, because I've read it on articles, because if you look online, there are various articles where Netflix is saying that they're looking into that. And in terms of getting to net zero and all the pledges, I completely agree that the important thing, we don't want anyone big or small, doesn't matter, getting to net zero by offsetting, but that's why it's really important that they can measure, they can understand the carbon footprint at any production and any size, and then obviously have a certification process, or however you want to do it. We do have a certification process in order to reduce their carbon footprint and then give them the opportunity to offset the rest. Because we had Netflix into the conversation, I have to say that we work quite close to them with UK productions, and I've seen massive reductions in productions, I'm saying, what includes pre-production, production, and post-production. And I've seen them making big decisions on productions like Top Boy, for example, where they decided to not fly. So basically what they did is they could fly all the crew to Jamaica, and they decided to get 77% of their crew, 70% of their crew locally, which that for a production with a big budget is a massive decision to make. So we are really seeing changes on productions in terms of making decisions to reduce. However, there is still lots of innovation to be done in order to reduce even more, of course.
To finish, Lucia, do you think that what you are doing with the market, can that be a benchmark? And do you see already other markets leading into this direction?
Yeah, I think that actually, yes. Not that I want to be a benchmark or nothing like that, but I think that many markets and festivals are leading there. And it's, I would say that what it should be addressed to the various players of the value chain, including markets and festivals, and is that it's not, it's quite a good process to have within our company. What I would say is that starting from that definition, then you find out several things that you thought I mean, they may be real, but they actually weren't. Like you are convinced that actually you have a very inclusive office, and then maybe you can find out that you may improve that value you put to yourself, and then that you actually, if you reduce and you're going to be greener, you probably could reduce your costs. And so basically, that what I would like to say is that it's not because we are good that we do something. It's because and also if you're not good and you don't care much about the environment, then if you do this process at very point, you're going to have a clear understanding of what you're doing, a clear understanding on how you are doing it, and possibly you're going to also reduce your costs and involve your community around this. That's what I wanted to say.
That's actually the perfect end to that, because it's not just about greening. It saves a lot of money. So when you look into that and you want to have your company sustainably growing, then it's obviously also about your costs. And with that, I'd like to thank you, ladies. It was a pleasure talking to you. Unfortunately, the time is out and we have to go back to the studio with AC Coppens. Thank you. Merci. Gracias and grazie.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, ladies. Thanks to all, and thanks to you, Catherine, to have led this discussion together with Lauriane, Lucia, and Rosa. And just a quick note, Jakob Bilabel should have been joining that panel, actually. He could not, but I really encourage you to check the Akionsnetzwerk for sustainability in culture and media that he's leading, which is going much beyond the film industry and is really interesting, so check it out. His name is still in the program on the website, I believe.